So, three, two, and one. All right, and welcome back to the Reserve Squad Midweek. We've got a transfer special episode happening now, and we're gonna basically go over, I guess, what's already happened because we're not even like halfway through it. But there have been a lot of deals
Mm.
that have taken place, and rumors are just starting to fly now. And I'm happy to talk a little bit about this with Rex. So Rex, thanks for joining me again.
Hello, happy to be back. It's been a couple weeks, and yeah, I mean we got a lot of deals that haven't, I guess, been official, but everything pretty much looks done. Like Gabriel Jesus looks done, but he hasn't actually been unveiled. So we got a ton of that stuff too. So I'm looking forward to it. I've been poring over the data, so to speak, and can kind of hopefully give a little input on some of these transfers that have already happened and how impactful they'll be on their teams this year.
Yeah, and one thing I was actually going over with Jeremy over the last week is, it's possible that maybe there won't be as much activity as we expect just because of how quickly the season turns around and with the World Cup happening. And one thing that we were kind of wondering is, in a weird way, because maybe playing time is more important than doing a big move, you might see teams actually hold or players want to hold back and make their big move if they can in the winter transfer.
Mm.
So I mean that's usually not what we see. So that'll
Yeah.
be what I'm interested in. I know,
And it seems to me like a lot of the activity too has been done early on in the window. I know like Arsenal have, three or four signings already, and they usually don't sign anyone till like the very end of the window, I feel like. So
mhm.
that might be playing into it too. Just kind of get your squads set early. Obviously get those new guys in and practicing as much as possible when the season
getting a
starts too.
getting a
So
preseason is usually pretty big.
mhm. Yeah, because you're like traveling together. You can
Yeah.
really, meet the team and get to know everyone like really fast because you're like living together in those preseason overseas trainings. So.
hmm All right, and so I guess we'll get started with the number one on your on the list there, and you went with Man United. So and there's certainly a lot to talk about with them.
Yeah, I put them number one to try to tempt Alex to skip work and come on the show. But I guess he has like a wife and a kid now that he has to support. So
And so, I guess what we'll do is we'll go over what's officially done, and then we'll basically we'll go over rumors and maybe go over what we think their needs are, and maybe some expectations, and we'll try to
mhm.
basically do that for everyone we can get to. So, all right, let's start with United. So,
Oh, United got a lot of stuff going on, Ben. A lot of stuff.
let's see. So, officially, Pogba is out. We kind of figured that was going to happen, but he does look set to join Juve. Lingard looks to be out. We don't know exactly where he's off to. I imagine someone's going to pick him up, especially for
Looks
free.
looks like West Ham. Yeah, and he's free, which is kind of stupid on Man U's part because they had a chance to sell him in January for something, and they said they needed him, and he didn't really play, so maybe they didn't need him, and now he's going for free. So I think that was kind of a stupid move. They could have gotten, they could have gotten 10, 15 mil at least
Mhm.
for him, and that's like at the low end. That's better than nothing. But yeah, he looks set to. I think West Ham's going to pick him up for free. So
It was also just well, I guess maybe he just clashes with Bruno too much, but it was just weird how they just didn't want to play him, didn't even want to try him.
yeah, and
Um,
they said they needed him, and they didn't play him. So.
Cavani and Matic look to be out. You've got Henderson being loaned
Mhm.
out to Nottingham Forest. I kind of missed that one. Uh,
Yeah, it looks like it'll be a loan deal, but Nottingham Forest want an option to buy at the end. And I think this is just Henderson saying like I need to play, and he'll definitely play. Newly promoted Premier League team will probably make a lot of saves. Maybe try to work his way onto the England roster because half a good half a season he could be the second or third string keeper maybe. So I think this is a good move for both parties.
yeah, because well, I guess is the second guy now um, uh, the guy at Arsenal, Ramsdale? Because Pope. I mean, I
It
don't
might
imagine
be.
unless Pope makes a move. I don't imagine Pope's going to keep his role in South. Well, I don't know how Southgate works. Um,
Yeah, I don't know either. So it would be Pickford, but then
oh
Ramsdale
yeah,
kind of the last game they played, he played terrible. So I think Ramsdale's stock might be going down at this point, but it's still really early, so we'll see. But yeah, that third spot seems maybe like Pope, Henderson, um, who else? Johnston, is Johnston English? Maybe
maybe.
Johnston. Yeah.
I feel
So
like there's a guy at Palace who maybe that's Johnson who uh, I think was on the outside looking in, but maybe it could be Henderson. Um, and then as far as official business they've done, you've got I can't say his name, the fullback from Feyenoord. Oh, sorry, Rex, you went you went
Malacia,
there you go.
I think is his name, right?
That's it.
Yeah, I muted to practice pronouncing his name and then forgot to unmute. But yeah, I think I mean I don't. He's a good player, but he's really young. He played a lot, but I don't know if he's better than what they have at fullback already. But again, we talked about depth. It's going to be huge with 5 subs too. So it's just adding to the depth. It's a good young player that Ten Hag will be familiar with too. So I think it's a good move.
Do you know if he like which side he prefers on?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I guess Ten Hagen, since he played against Feyenoord a couple times with Ajax, probably caught his eye. So I think it's a good move. I don't know what side he plays on. I think he's I want to say he's left back.
Okay, so that would maybe Tella's getting a getting a
Yes.
warning. Yeah,
Uh huh.
and
Yeah.
we think that this does look pretty close. That they are maybe on the verge of getting Frankie De Jong
Yeah. Yeah.
of
This has been
of
persistent
Barcelona.
all summer so far. Yeah. It looks like it's going to happen for around 50 million,
Whoa,
£50 million.
I guess
Yeah.
it would be pounds.
Or 50 million.
Maybe in
Maybe 50 million euro.
maybe
Yeah.
in euros it would
Euros.
be like 80. No, I think pounds it would be different. Um, that would be it. So I don't necessarily think he is a lone DM by himself. It seems wherever he's been, he's played in a pivot. So maybe you compare Frankie De Jong with either a Fred or a
Right.
McTominay. Apparently, Ten Hag has spoken highly of him recently. I was thinking
Hmm.
maybe you could try playing him and Van de Beek together, but it seems it's possible because we know that they're going to play Bruno up front.
Hmm.
Unless they do a formation change, it is possible they could maybe bring in someone from Brentford that also kind of plays a deeper role, and maybe they could play a double pivot together. And there is a big rumor now that they're linked to Christian Eriksen, and so
Yeah, it seems it's between Brentford and United. So yeah, that's going to be a big decision too. We'll talk about that more when we get to Brentford because that's another possible World Cup kind of thing. Floating in Ericsson's mind, like where do I play the most?
yes,
Because he wants to play in this last World Cup. For him, I would assume it's his last World Cup. So I think everything he's doing is geared towards starting in the World Cup. So we'll get to that though. It's interesting.
that well just really quick add on. If he would play in that kind of like deeper role, especially in a pivot, I don't necessarily think he would play the same way at Denmark
Hmm.
that he'd maybe have a little bit more freedom with Brentford. So that's a good point. And then for rumors, here's another guy that's been linked there pretty much all summer is Timber of Ajax,
Hmm.
and it seems that one maybe is cooling down a little bit thanks
Yeah.
to the Holland coach Louis van Gaal
Mhm.
and Antony's kind of stalled a little bit and. But it seems I don't know if they do get Frankie De Jong in. Do you think that's maybe enough for them?
Oh, I mean, it could be enough in central midfield, but I still want to see. I want to see a good center back because we don't really know. We don't know about Maguire. He's always kind of just so inconsistent. Bai is probably going to be gone. Who's going to be a center back for me? They need a center back, so I'd like to see them do a lot more business than this. They're also linked to Tielemans now, so maybe trying to strengthen the midfield even further. Get just more depth. But they've made room. They've certainly made room. They've released a lot of players, so I think we'll see their windows start to pick up more and more. And we'll see them. Ten Hag might try to keep rating Ajax because we know there's a lot of good players there too.
Hmm.
So if he could get like Timber, I think that would be great for him because I think he's a really good center back. So if they could get like Timber, Frankie De Jong, maybe one or two other players, I think that'd be a pretty good window for him.
Hmm. I agree. All right, and well, we'll get the ball really rolling, and we'll talk your team up. So
Ooh.
Arsenal
Yeah.
Arsenal just missed out last season, so this is a pretty important window, and they have gotten the ball rolling. As far as official goes, it looks like Lacazette is back to Lyon on a free, and
Hmm.
it looks like at least at the moment, it seems Saliba might actually be in Arteta's plans, but maybe not. You actually have him going back on loan. It seems they have Nketiah staying, and really the big signing was Fabio Vieira from Porto, which is frankly when this happened, it was kind of a shock because to find out that the release clause was only about 35 million. I mean, this is a
Hmm.
guy that a lot of Liverpool supporters that I follow really wanted. Uh, and so for him to go to Arsenal was a bit of a shocker. And
Yeah.
I guess Turner was announced and he wasn't official before that. Um,
Right. Right.
but the rumors though are pretty juicy as well. I mean, Tielemans, you mentioned maybe there's more of a United link, but Jesus
Yeah.
definitely almost looks certain to be going
Yeah.
now.
That I think that's like basically 100% done. The only thing we haven't seen like the club officially announce him in like an Arsenal jersey and be unveiled, but yeah, that looks done, and that's really exciting for me too because obviously I talked all year about them needing a striker, and it looks like they've gone out and gotten a good one and one that can fit the system and one that has worked with Arteta before. So I like
Yep.
the fact that he's already used to the Premier League, so he's not coming from another league, and we don't have to worry about any adjustments. So I'm excited about this one. He can play all over the top three if he wants to too. So 54 million, not bad really.
No, because he's maybe 25 or 26. It's insane how young he
Yeah,
is still. And
yeah, I
frankly,
think it's
the
26.
move makes sense to him too, because we talked about the World
Yeah,
Cup. If
Holland too.
he hits the ground running a little bit, maybe he'll have a shot in that Brazil squad starting. We
Hmm.
don't necessarily know what the 11 will be for Brazil, but I mean he'll certainly feature. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
and it seems. I mean, I haven't necessarily seen anything official with Aaron Hickey, but I guess he's still rumored there.
I don't know. That's been kind of cooling too. It seems Brentford's after him too,
Hmm.
so we'll see about that. I haven't heard a lot about Hickey. I've heard more honestly about Lissandro Martinez.
Hmm.
He's well, he can play left back and he's a left-footed center back. So they're Arsenal have I think they've been lodging bids for him. Seems like 30 million euros was declined by Ajax, so they might try to go back with like 40. But I think Man U's interested in Martinez
I
too,
thought
so
Man
that's
U
gonna be
was, yeah.
interesting. But yeah, but that would be a huge signing for Arsenal because we know that Tierney is very injury prone. He misses games all the time. He hasn't had like an injury free season since he came over from Celtic.
Yeah.
So if they could get a guy that could play left back and could also be a good center back, that would be great. I would love to see him come, but there's more competition for him too. I think, yeah, like you said, man, maybe Chelsea, maybe even Ten Hagen is trying to get another Ajax player. So we'll see about that. But that one coupled with Jesus would make me really happy for this window.
Yeah, it's kind of. I guess I didn't watch enough Ajax in actual real time, but did they have two center backs that were like 5'9"? Because Timber's not that tall either. That
I don't. Yeah,
that's different. I mean, I guess Kunde, Jules Kunde, is kind of the same thing. So I guess their on ball ability, and I guess they're really good in the air, even regardless of
makes
their
up for
size.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and out of nowhere, it seems there are like three clubs that seem to be linked to Rafina, and Arsenal every other week it seems are a club that are mentioned, and so I
Mhm.
guess that'll maybe be one to follow as well. Um,
Yeah, it would be great if they could get him, but it looks like Chelsea. I think basically outbid everyone, and it looks like Rafinha will go to Chelsea. It kind of makes sense too if he's deciding, if Champions League is a big deal. Obviously, Chelsea's in the Champions League.
mhm.
Arsenal's not. Barca too was
I've seen
interested in
Barca.
him. His agent's Deco, but I don't think Barca has the cash for him. Is what I'm reading. So it looks like Chelsea might land Rafinha, unfortunately,
Well, if they sell
for
De Jong,
both of us.
if they sell
Yeah,
De,
yeah. If they sell De Jong,
they can maybe do a bid. Though
true.
Frank, Barca's might have to actually change. I guess we'll get maybe we won't get to Barca today, but Barca
They
might have to
could.
change how they play
They want
because
Lua too, apparently.
there's no way. There doesn't seem to be a player out there other than maybe Rodri who can do what Busquets does in that 4-3-3,
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah.
like Frankie De Jong was tried to play. They tried playing him there because they thought he would be a suitable replacement, and it didn't work. They that uh, when uh, when Koeman was there, he tried that. And they Barca lost like 6 games trying that.
Yeah.
So maybe it's good for him to kind of move on. It is kind of a shocker that hasn't necessarily worked out. But I highly rate that guy. I think
Yeah. Me
yeah
too. He's
he's
yeah.
on
He's a proper player.
on the ball. He's maybe the best at his position for what he can do.
Yeah.
So that'll be something. If Man United get him, that will be interesting because for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been really noticeable that you could press their midfielders and they would give the ball up.
Hmm.
He is one of those that's very good at keeping the ball no matter what. He makes good
Oh yeah.
decisions and he's press resistant. Um,
Yeah.
and sorry, kind of talking about Barca with during your Arsenal time. And we should mention that I guess the other I guess confirmed thing is um, the Amazon series just released a trailer, and I guess
Yeah.
we'll be starting to see that starting sometime in August. So
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like August. They like to release it like right before the season starts.
hmm.
So early August, hopefully.
so that'll be something to look out for as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Exciting.
let's get on to Liverpool, and might have to speed this up a little bit. As
Yeah.
far as official business it goes, and this according to Liverpool Oil reporters, this might actually be official. They have Fabio Carvalho in, who's like a number. They assume he's like a number 10 kind of role, so maybe he can play a false nine and do the things that Firmino does. Frankly, I would like to see him maybe tried a little bit in midfield if they can do that. Give him more of an attacking role, but he is short of stature, so maybe I don't necessarily know if
Mm.
he would work in Klopp's system. Well, that would be something to watch. But the big one was Darwin Nunes,
Oh
85
yeah.
million from Porto, and there's been a lot of talk about this. Did they maybe pay too much for him? They've lost Mane as a result of this. But when you look at the 85 million fee, that does sound pretty big. But compared to the wages that Nunez is going to make, as opposed to what Mane was making, it's going to save Liverpool money
Mhm.
in the long run. And really, when it comes to a lot of these deals, wages is what really hurts these clubs, not necessarily the transfer fee, because they can break the transfer fee up into like separate payments over certain years. So
Yeah.
the actual number looks bad, but for these clubs, it's really not. Plus, they can use debt usually, but the wages is what normally hurts these clubs.
Yeah.
And
Let me read you his stats real quick. Because he was ridiculous. So Darwin Nunez at Benfica. Sorry, Ben, I put Porter on the script, but Benfica. He had 34
oh,
goals and
I knew
four
that.
assists. 34 goals.
Mhm.
Ridiculous. So, I mean, if he can get like half of that at Liverpool, it'd be a success, right? Like 15, 16 goals. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, if anything, that would be because I don't necessarily know if he'll actually start because there is Jota, so it's
Mhm.
possible we could kind of see them in a mix. But if anything within the 17 to 18, oh yeah, that's more than enough. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the only issue is we are only looking at really a one season outlook because the season prior, what he had maybe 8 goals. Like he had a massive bump in one year.
Right.
So
Mhm.
that is maybe the only concern. But for the most part, it seems people that have left the Portuguese league to come to the EPL, maybe due to the physicality, and it seems the boxes are pretty packed. It's
Yeah.
not open like the Bundesliga. It seems like there's been a pretty easy transition, so I'm pretty hopeful. And then they brought in Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen for a pretty small fee of 6.5 million, and it is kind of weird because there really isn't any controversy over this. In fact, a lot of people just assume that this guy is Trent's heir apparent, which is insane to me because, frankly, to me, Trent Alexander-Arnold really is at the moment the best right back in all of world football. To be honest,
Mhm.
I mean Cancelo
Yeah, I would
plays
agree with that.
Cancelo plays on the left. Maybe he would have a say if he played on the right more. But I don't think. For as much people get on Trent for defending, I think Cancelo is a much worse defender. Maybe Kyle Walker
Mhm.
is a better defender.
Yeah.
But so I mean what I'm actually really interested to see is if Calvin Ramsey and Trent play at the same time, and there has been talks that Klopp's maybe thought about that. So
Ooh.
we'd see either one of them in midfield. Ramsey actually played in midfield for Aberdeen for a little bit, but that's pretty much
Ooh.
all they've done.
That's something to look forward to in the preseason. Maybe they try that out.
I would personally like them to get a midfielder in if they can. Now, obviously, all the talk is around Bellingham, and Dortmund has been very, very clear that they're not even looking to sell
Yeah.
him this year,
Do you see?
and the
Do you see what
price
they
tag
slapped? The price tag?
is
Yeah.
over 100 million. I think it's 120
It's
million.
120. Yeah.
And he's eight. He just turned 19. I mean, he's been playing for starting for Dortmund since he's been 16, which is insane. Um,
Mhm.
and when you look, I mean, this is what's weird is you can see why they wanted Chouamini so much, and the only reason they lost to Madrid, I think it came down to wages. They weren't able to offer him the wages. Uh,
Mhm.
but I mean, I've just as a neutral, like looking or as a pretend scout, just kind of look for that kind of profile. There aren't that many out there that are good in the air. That basically they're like five-tool midfielders, very
Mhm.
calm on the ball, can make men miss, decent pass on them as well, but also very good at winning duels. And it just seemed
Mhm.
like just the way that Klopp likes to use his midfield as workhorses. The criticism in the past has been someone like Henderson that has everything other than like the final product, and maybe
Mhm.
Bellingham would be an improvement on that. Well, would be an improvement on that.
Yeah.
But is he worth the 100+ million for someone that's probably not necessarily going to add goals at a high clip? I'm not really sold on that. I feel like Conrad Leimer could do something similar, to be honest, for like 30 million. But
Yeah, it's a good point too, because I mean, 120 is a lot of money, and like you look at like Calvin Phillips for Leeds, it looks like he's going for like 45 million to City. So
yeah,
like, yeah, to pay 120 would be ridiculous because they could get a solid one for much
I mean,
less.
I don't think Declan Rice would be 120 on the market, to be honest. But I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, maybe not. Yeah,
uh,
but maybe that's one for them to wait around for next year or whenever Bellingham's last year is on, and
there's a
he'll probably be like, I want to leave. So
there's a release clause that can be triggered, I think, next season. But then it
next
becomes
season.
then it comes down to a bidding war, and if someone like City is going to lose Gundogan next year, possibly could lose Bernardo Silva this year. There's talks maybe he goes to Barca. Uh, City are going to need to replace to find a midfielder. They're linked to Calvin Phillips, but we don't necessarily know that. Frankly, I could see him working at City a lot, to be honest. And City can offer better wages. So if you get into a bidding war,
Yeah.
there's talk that Madrid are interested in him as well, which that doesn't make sense to me
Ooh, is
because
it?
their midfield is super
Well,
stacked already.
I think maybe just because Cruz and Modric are old, maybe they'd be like, eventually they're like 30, 34. So maybe just looking at like how old they are, they like, hey, we can get Bellingham in here for, groom him under Cruz and Modric for a year.
I
You
mean,
know,
the way unless they see Valverde as kind of switching to maybe be more of this right wing or like a fake wing, a fake wide player, because that's what he did in the Champions League, as opposed to like kind of like a number eight in a three midfield. I don't really see it because Bellingham's not going to start over Camavinga or Chua. And Valverde to
yeah,
me is
true.
possibly other than Kevin De Bruyne, Valverde is like the heir apparent to like I don't know Arturo Vidal. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
He had a great season.
he is like 20. He's 25 or 24 too. Like Real Madrid's midfield is already crazy young. So that would just be
Yeah, I forgot about Camavinga. Yeah.
that would be the rich getting richer. I guess you could say. Maybe they don't rate Camavinga. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, that would be wild. Well,
and
he definitely didn't. He wasn't a regular starter, but also it's his first season there. So
I thought he was good whenever he played. Um,
me too. They put him on in the Champions League as a sub, and he changed the games.
mhm. And we mentioned Mane is officially gone to Bayern. It's a sore one, but I think it makes sense for both parties. One, he's making a lot more in wages. He's kind of been
Yeah.
him and Salah have basically been underpaid for
Did he,
what
did
they've
he
been
go
able to do.
from Did he go from like 150 a week to like 350 or 250 at
Something
Bayern? Something
I
crazy.
don't think he was making over two. So
Okay.
Liverpool's wage structure is kind of goofy. They might have to break that, to be honest. But
Yeah, he was
we'll
only making like 150, I think, one
maybe like
something like at
170.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
170, yeah, yeah. But at least they save money on wages on there, like you were talking about. So
And so I mean, really, it you've got Mane out. You're placing him with Nunes. Frankly, the way I look at it is you're placing because Mane wasn't playing left wing anymore. You have Diaz instead of Mane there.
mhm.
Um, frankly, instead of Mane playing in the center, you're gonna have Jota there, which I think he's better than Mane at that position. And then you have Salah, and then you can either play Nunes on the wing or in the middle, and you can have Firmino or Fabio behind. So I think that the attack has improved, but
Oh yeah,
it is behind in that midfield. Keita has injury issues. You don't necessarily trust
mhm.
Henderson. Fabinho's getting a little older, and maybe Henderson is that backup. But you don't. There is this season is going to rest a lot on Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones'
Mhm.
improvement. So that's
And Thiago deals with a lot of injuries recently
there's
too.
that really is the thing. Like if Thiago stays healthy, Liverpool win the title. Yeah, win the season last year. Maybe win the quad. Um,
Mm,
but you're right that you can't always rely on him, and there really isn't anyone else that
yeah,
can do what he does.
yeah.
And yeah, so I guess that's it. We kind of I guess we talked up the rumors, and you mentioned Barella is also linked, and he would probably cost a huge fee too. I don't see Inter want to give up with him. So
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, that does. Plus, I mean, it doesn't look like Liverpool necessarily need him, or like their attack's already pretty stacked. It might be like a depth thing, and I don't know if they want to pay that much for like a bench player.
I mean, personally, if they're looking at like to bring in maybe Umbrella wouldn't be a project, but if they're looking to bring someone in for this season and then get Bellingham in later on, I would love them to either look at Jacob Ramsey of Villa because with Barbecue Kamara coming in for Villa, maybe Ramsey's going to be shut out because you have Douglas Luiz and John McGinn, or maybe McGinn will be out. But
Or
I,
Luis could go too.
I
Yeah.
highly rate Jacob Ramsey, and frankly, the fun talk has been bringing Genie back on like a 1 year loan.
Yeah,
He would
that would be outstanding for them.
he would fit. He fits the way that Klopp's midfield likes to play. People don't think he's fancy enough or good enough on the ball when it comes to like his passing. But what he doesn't do, he doesn't lose the ball, and he's very good at
Mhm.
tracking back. So
Yeah, and in that Liverpool team, he doesn't necessarily have to be
right,
like fancy on the ball. There's so many other people that can do that.
yes. And so let's. I don't know how we're doing for time, but it might be going over. Let's get on to Chelsea because there's a lot of fun stuff happening with them with the new ownership. It seems they hit the ground running a little bit. So they're
Mhm.
officially they officially are do have to replace some guys though. They lost Rudiger for free. He's I think he's finally officially moved to Real Madrid, and it looks like
Mhm.
Christensen might be joining him in Spain, maybe to Barca. But they've lost Andreas
Ooh.
Christensen. Um,
Yeah, both for free too.
may, I don't know if Christensen's interested, but Brentford should maybe. Well, I don't know if they'd be able to do his wages. Christensen at Brentford would be
Ooh,
amazing.
yeah, yeah, that
Um,
would be. Yeah, I don't think they could do his wages possibly.
but and it's official now. Lukaku is back at Inter, and this one really this will maybe be looked at as like one of the biggest like flop signings, maybe in the Prem era. To be honest, I
Yeah,
to pay $100 million and to lose him just to give up on him within a year,
1 year.
give up with him in 6 months. To be
Yeah, yeah.
honest, is very very wild. And I call me one of the uh, I guess I don't want to say idiots, but one of the people that actually thought this was going to work, and it just completely didn't.
Well, I
So
mean, yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to work too because when you saw just how good Lukaku was, his size, he had already played at Chelsea too. I don't know. I would be curious to see if Tuchel like stuck with him all season, what his numbers would have been like. But man, I mean, I don't know how much money they're going to lose on this, but it's a what is it, 70 million they'll probably lose because they paid what they pay for him 100. They're probably going to lose him for like 20,
mm.
so maybe 30. So yeah, that's a huge loss for him. But it's also Chelsea, so they're probably like, whatever.
Yeah, well, you don't have Abramovich oil money anymore, so maybe
Yeah, that's true.
I mean
American money now.
they're apparently linked to Liverpool's old uh, uh, football
Director.
operations guy, yeah, director Michael
Hmm.
Edwards, which would be
Hmm.
that would be very interesting because I don't necessarily, it's that Moneyball stuff. I don't necessarily know if it works because you can penny pitch as much as you want, but frankly, I think they just got lucky and it worked out because of what Klopp was able to do. I don't
Hmm.
like a really good example would be Minamino. They got him for 7 million. Everyone was like, "Oh, this genius masterclass." Minamino didn't play that much, even though you can maybe argue that Minamino was the reason why they won 2 cups last year.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Some people.
that actually didn't turn out too bad, to be fair. Um, but as far as rumors go, I mean, we it seems Raheem Sterling might be close to joining them.
It
Um,
does. Yeah.
and so City would be losing Sterling and Jesus, which I don't necessarily know if that's necessarily a positive to replace him with Alvarez and Holland. To be
Mhm.
honest, because it's two new guys to a new league, and frankly, Sterling and Jesus are both I thought underrated at City
Yeah.
for some
Me
reason.
too. Me too. I
Um,
mean, yeah, both of them. They're speedy.
just off
I
the
mean,
ball,
I
very good
like.
pressers.
Yeah, yeah. I like both of them, and they've won a lot of trophies together at City, so it's good experience too.
But Sterling at Chelsea is interesting because Chelsea have had issue. Their wide players aren't necessarily finishers, um, and it seems whether Sterling would be playing on the left side or the right, you'd maybe be replacing him with Werner or Ziyech. Sterling would maybe make better runs, but when it
Mhm.
comes to end product, and finishing 1v1 chances, Sterling does have kind of the same problems that Werner has. So I don't necessarily know what this would do with Werner if Sterling came in. And we talked about Rafinha. It seems like there's a very good chance they're either going to get Rafinha in or Dembele, and so I don't know what that does for
Mm.
Ziyech. Uh,
Yeah, so it should probably be out.
and the one guy we haven't even mentioned is Pulisic. So
Yeah, and Pulisic kind of like deleted his links to Chelsea on Twitter right when the season ended, and we know he wants to play more. But besides that, I haven't heard a lot about it after the season ended. But I mean, it looks like he could leave just to be a regular starter somewhere else.
I mean,
So that could free up more room too.
one thing I was just kind of playing in my head is Pulisic at West Ham would make a lot of sense to me. Um,
Oh, he would do great there. Yeah,
but if they go get Lingard, then that doesn't really work out. But what we talked about it a couple, or I guess a couple months ago, that West Ham maybe need a third option, and Pulisic would maybe it'd be a nice compliment to Boeing. Boeing likes playing on the right,
yeah.
Pulisic plays on the left. So
Yeah, you need three because we kind of saw that with Tottenham. If you just have Bowen and Antonio, that's fine. That's great. But if you add that third person like Lingard was in the loan, or like Pulisic could be, now it's three really good players you have to mark. It's so much harder to mark three good players than it is to mark two.
and it's not just like Americans kind of hyping up. I mean, he has injury issues. That really is the thing.
He does.
He's
Yeah,
very
he does.
he's very good on the ball. He can dribble around players.
And he's kind of
He's got a finish on
he
him.
wasn't.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he does. And he wasn't necessarily playing in his spot at Chelsea either. He was kind of, he it seemed like Tuchel experienced around with different roles for him. So he wasn't necessarily in his pure favorite spot either. So, he goes somewhere like West Ham, he can be, and I think you'd see him thrive there.
And that seems to be all. I mean, maybe they'll address maybe their back line issues. I mean, they're losing two center backs. Um,
Yeah, they could try to go for Napoli's Koulibaly.
I've seen that.
He's a good
I've seen
player. Yeah,
Koulibaly. Yeah,
I've seen that. I've also seen Skriniar for striker from Inter, but
interesting.
that one looks like it's cooling a little bit.
I
So,
figured they
but
would go for
Koulibaly would be great.
figured they'd go for Bastoni, but maybe Inter just won't budge on him.
Ooh,
Um,
Bastoni would be good. Yeah,
but frankly, I look at Chelsea's problem last year wasn't necessarily their front line, even though they weren't necessarily lights out. I thought it was in midfield, and I haven't seen any kind of links. Conte is getting up there in age. It seems he didn't necessarily have the best year. Jorginho is really their lone DM, and Oh, he got run to the ground last year.
Yeah.
Frankly, Chelsea should have been in it for either Chouameni or maybe even Frankie De Jong. So I've been kind of shocked about that. Or frankly, they could have gotten what Aston Villa got, which is Babacar Kamara. And I
Yeah.
guess that'll be a good transition.
Ooh.
I'm stunned that Villa have been able to get this guy because when you look when I mentioned how there weren't many guys that suit like the Tchouaméni kind of mold, Bellingham. Uh, there's a guy in Germany, Kone. Maybe Ibrahim Sengara, I think plays for Eindhoven.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there just aren't that many out there, and Barbecue Kamara is potentially one of these that is. He's
Mhm.
pretty young too. I think he's 22.
Yeah.
Uh, he's pretty pretty good size. I think he's 6'1". But I mean, this guy as a defensive minded player completed the most progressive passes into the final third in League On last year. He is he's a good passer on him. He
Mhm.
seems to be pretty good on the ball. And frankly, this could maybe be signing of the season as far as a team replacing a need that they didn't have because Douglas Luiz, I don't necessarily think is a DM, but he had to play there because they didn't have anyone else. You're going to be able to
Mhm.
play this guy as a lone six and allow those two midfielders to maybe be more expansive. So
Yeah.
this could be a super signing for Villa. So we'll see how he does
Played.
for
He
for
played in
Gerard.
34 games too for Marseille. So a lot of games, a lot of experience. A lot of not a lot of injuries. So I also think they got Diego Carlos from
Hmm.
Seville for 26 million. I think those two signings at Villa. I mean, I think we might look at them at the end of next season and be like, those two guys were brilliant signings. I mean, Diego Carlos kind of expensive for Villa, 26 mil, but he also started or played in 34 games as a center back, and he added 3 goals in La Liga. So I think both those players are going to be huge. But I have heard Luis might leave. I don't know Villa. He might leave Villa. I don't.
Oh, really?
It looks like it could be up in the air. Trezeguet too. I think is going to go to Turkey. But I wonder how you'll feel about this. Villa's interested in Joe Gomez, possibly. Also, Nathan Collins from Burnley
Maybe for a loan. Joe,
for a loan.
it seems Joe Gomez has had so many injury issues, but I'm pretty sure that FSG look at the future partnership once Van Dijk is passed to be Kanate and Gomez. So I don't see them budging
Mm.
because Gomez is actually really good on the ball. He can do a lot of the things that Virgil and frankly Matip can do. Um,
Would Liverpool do a loan deal, or do you think they need him this year with all the games and 5 subs? Do they need him at Liverpool when they can get him games at Liverpool? They
it's
don't really need to send him out on loan.
it's possible Gomez would want to play because I frankly think he's good enough to be in the England squad as is, even though he hasn't played much. I mean, last season they only played him as like Trent's backup right back, and he actually did pretty well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
his issues have been he can ball watch, but I think that's due to not necessarily like he can get caught by a through ball behind him.
Right.
But that I think that issue is just not necessarily playing enough. And he's had a bunch of really bad, unfortunate injuries that have set him back. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's necessarily lost pace. Um, but as far as I don't necessarily know if I would do that because uh, one one of the bigger I mentioned Thiago and Cato were able to go last season pretty unscathed, at least
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, or the second half of the season. Joe Matip actually went the whole season uninjured, which was completely an anomaly. And so, Virgil is still coming off a knee injury. You don't necessarily know if that he'll ever have a setback or not. And after
Mm-hmm.
behind him, they're just maybe there's Nat Phillips, but there really wouldn't be any other kind of depth. There's this young guy, Blad and Vandenberg, um, who's been loaned out in the championship, who's impressed a few times. But I don't. He's too young to necessarily be thought in. They still have Reese Williams. I would say maybe do something with Reese Williams. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I would agree with that.
that seems to be. Oh, and another official thing is they do have Coutinho back for another season. So
Yes. Yeah. Continue. Yep.
and so let's move on to Leeds now, and they were able to to escape last season because it wasn't necessarily what maybe Leeds fans would have expected. Um,
Mhm.
but they started with it started with Biesla and ended with an American. So it'll be
By the way, have you seen what Bielsa looks like now? He's lost like a ton of weight. If after the show, or if anyone's listening, Google it. It's crazy. He looks different. It's weird.
I mean, that guy has knees of like a 25-year-old. The way he's able to bend down.
and
I used to not really understand that, but getting more up there in age, just kind of going downstairs, you hear the creaks, and I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
I would not be able to
Oh yeah.
do what he does at 70 or however old he is. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so let's get started. It looks like they've brought in Brendan Aronson from Salzburg, uh, Marco Roca of Bayern, and I don't know who this guy is either. Rasmus Christensen of Salzburg as well, which makes sense.
Mhm.
It makes sense he would have some kind of connection with Salzburg
Yeah,
as the
two
best coach.
Salzburg players.
Mhm.
Hmm. I think I mean Rasmus Christmas Christensen is a solid player, 10 million too. So I think he's definitely going to have a crucial role for that price. And I really like Mark Roca too. He went from La Liga to Bayern and was kind of just deemed surplus in the midfield at Bayern. Didn't really play,
Mhm.
but I think he could be good. He costs 10 million. And then Aronson is going to be a really fun watch. He had 10 assists and 6 goals last year for Salzburg. So really kind of more of an assist guy. He can still score, but you're looking at hopefully Bamford back too.
Yeah,
So he can kind of sit back and be the assist guy. Hopefully.
and really, frankly, we'll get to their rumors, but it, and they didn't have Calvin Phillips for a lot of that, and so losing him to City might actually hurt them. But
Mm,
the main problem last year was not having a striker without Bamford. Bamford kind of connected everything. You saw Rafina suffer.
mm,
Dan James was actually playing striker for them instead. You saw
yeah.
uh, Jack Harrison suffer as a result of that. And so just getting Bamford back in good just will immediately make that attack look so much better. Um,
Mm,
but let's get on to the rumors because it does seem that City do want Calvin Phillips as maybe the Fernandinho replacement or maybe like a backup to Rodri. And I think this would be
mm,
uh, a really good get for City because frankly, with Holland, you're maybe going to see City play a little different than what we've seen in the past. You can maybe see them go long more because Holland will look to make those runs in behind.
mm,
You might not necessarily see them try to pass their way upfield. And Phillips is very good with that long ball. He's one of the
yeah.
best. He's maybe not the best when it comes to passing, making decisions. He's other than those long passes. He does like to be careful and go side to side. But he's
Mm,
decent on the press, and he's a pretty good workhorse. Like I said, like Leeds really missed him when he wasn't
yeah.
there to cover up that middle of the field. Um,
Oh
and
yeah.
looks like Rafina uh, is set to either join Chelsea, Barca, or maybe Arsenal. And so
Hmm.
maybe Brendan Aronson will take Rafina's spot on that right side. So that'd be good
He
for
could. Yeah.
Aronson. It would either be like his competition would be like Dan James. So maybe
Oh,
there's more
yeah.
playing time
True.
for him.
It could be, yeah. I think he should have a crucial role, and obviously Jesse Marsh likes him a lot, so it's going to be interesting. I think they're also Leeds also kind of want Knott's forward Moses Simon.
Oh,
I've never really heard of him, but he had six goals and 8 assists last year at Knott's, so maybe they want him as kind of a backup to Bamford, or hopefully not in their for them for
they
their
need
sake, but
they need another
you
forward.
know if Bamford gets hurt again or just isn't on form, yeah, they need another striker. So I think that'd be a good piece of business. I don't think it would cost too much, around 8 million, I think. So keep an eye on that too.
Just to kind of throw something out there. I've been kind of surprised that sticking with the Serie A, that there hasn't been any kind of rumors to the Sassuolo forward Scaramacca.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Arsenal was linked with him for a
that
time.
guy looked very good in the Nations League over the last month, and just I've just been kind of surprised no one else has tried to go for him. He got decent numbers in Serie A last year, but
Yeah, he was brilliant.
when I look at forwards these days, it's how you back to goal, how you against a press, how's the first touch. He passed the test. He looked
Mhm.
he made Italy look from the team that got destroyed, losing 3-0 to Argentina, to beating Germany, or not beating, they got destroyed by Germany, to doing decent versus England, and I think they tied Germany. So
Yeah, he was linked with some clubs in the beginning of the I guess the beginning of the off season, but I haven't really heard a lot about him since. So
mhm.
yeah, he's good though. He's a good player.
And I've seen, it hasn't been official. I've seen, maybe it's just U.S. media saying it. They were maybe linked to Christian Richards, of Bayern,
Ooh, that'd be
but
interesting.
we'll see. Obviously, Marsh maybe being the U.S. Being a American, maybe they're just trying to force that to happen. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah,
be
true.
very interesting to see how Marsh does, because we don't want him to fail. To be honest,
Right. Yeah,
he's taken on some risky jobs, and to be fair for him, at least he stepped up and taken on that challenge, but it hasn't worked out so
mhm.
far. So
Yeah, yeah.
big season for
Yeah,
Reese.
Red Bull Leipzig experience did not go well for him, but he was able to keep leads up. So yeah,
Sure.
we'll see. It's going to be pivotal for him. Pivotal year.
All right, and let's see. Do you want to kind of mix some of these? Well, I guess we'll touch on City and Newcastle, then kind of. Oh, we haven't hit the Spurs yet, and then try to
Ooh.
condense some of these, because I don't know how we're doing for time.
Yeah, some of the smaller clubs don't have a lot of business going on.
All right. Well, let's. I'm not gonna
We
be
go
able
to
to.
City.
I'm not gonna be able to. Yeah. Let's go to City, and then maybe. I mean, we've kind of talked a little bit about it. They've got Holland in. This 51 million is a lie, by the way, that you put there. Uh,
Yeah,
that is the most like wink and nod transfer business I've ever seen. I think Holland's dad got 51 million, but we'll leave it there.
Probably.
And they brought in Alvarez of River Plate, and you think that Calvin Phillips is pretty nailed on. So
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's looking
okay.
like that. So
And another one that seems to be nailed on is Mark Cucurella of Brighton, which would give him some actual left fullback depth. That way,
yeah,
uh, you don't have to play the guy from Ukraine. I
Zinchenko.
forget his Zinchenko.
Zinchenko.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I think
and Zinchenko
he's like an
he
attacking
can play in
midfielder.
the yeah he can play in the midfield too. So maybe
Yeah,
this is like freeing him up to play in the midfield some too, and more depth at left back is always a good thing too.
oh, he kind of looks like De Bruyne, and it would be very interesting if like
He does.
maybe that's in Pep's plans. Um, and out, we've kind of talked about it. It looks like they're set to lose Jesus and Sterling, and you've got
Mhm.
Devin Benzunu to Southampton.
Yeah,
Is he a young?
he he's a young backup goalkeeper. He's pretty good, pretty highly rated. I think he's Irish, I believe.
Hmm.
So I think he'll be going to Southampton to try to get the starting job there. And it looks like Zach Steffen might be leaving for Championship side Middlesbrough. I think this is also another one where Steffen's really motivated by getting playing time before the World Cup.
He needs to
It
play.
just yeah, it kind of that move kind of makes sense. Kind of stinks it's in the championship, but a lot of games and a lot of this championship is still a pretty grueling schedule. He can play a lot, learn a lot. But it looks like if he goes, then Ortega, goalkeeper from Armenia Bielefeld in the Bundesliga, might replace him. He's a young, well, he's 29, but young for a goalie, German player. So we'll see. I think that'd be a good move for all parties. We need Stefan starting, especially with Turner being the backup at Arsenal. Just for U.S. goalkeeping's sake, we need our goalkeepers to be playing a lot of games before that. So Turner on the bench, it makes sense. We need Stefan to go and play regularly.
Yeah, and frankly, I wanted Turner to get a move as well. I mean, frankly, even in the MLS, I would be at this point I would be okay with it. One thing that's
Mhm.
interesting with Stefan joining Middlesbrough is I'm pretty sure that's Chris Wilder's side, formerly the coach of
Oh yeah,
Sheffield
it is right.
United.
Yeah, Chef. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
I don't necessarily remember them doing a whole lot of building from the back, and that is kind of Steph's specialty. So maybe Wilder is planning on kind of changing how they play a little bit.
Ooh.
They looked pretty good against, they beat United, but they looked pretty good in that game, and they beat Spurs in that FA run.
Mhm.
So
They did. Yeah.
good for Wilder to bounce back. Um, But all right, let's get on to Newcastle, and then we'll maybe try to and Spurs, and then we'll try to consolidate some of this a little bit.
But yes, yeah,
Um, oh, you actually have Pope as official. So I kind of miss this. This makes way more sense to me for
yeah,
Pope to get a move, and 10 million, that's pretty good.
yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Because well, Dubrovka's there too, so they have two pretty solid goalkeepers now, and
I think Pope would be over
Pope, Pope,
Dubrovka.
Pope would be the star, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think Pope didn't really necessarily want to play in the championship with Burnley this year,
Mhm.
so it's a good move for him too. It looks too, Ben, like Sven Botman is basically official from
Yes.
Lille,
Yeah.
center back for 35 million, and that's a good deal, and that's a really good player for them. We always talked about them needing center backs too. He played a ton last year for Lille.
Mhm.
I think he played in like, let me see, 30 games, 30 plus games. So good player for them. He played in 25 games, 3 goals, 1 assist.
I
So not
remember
bad numbers for a center back.
when Liverpool had their like injury or their CB crisis. He was one that a lot of people I followed really wanted because he's very good in
Mhm.
the air. Um, his actually it's kind of funny. It's maybe a good thing he didn't go to Liverpool because apparently he has a weakness when it comes against high lines. But Newcastle's not going to
Ooh.
play a high line,
No,
um,
yeah.
so that is a pretty good. You imagine he would replace maybe Jamal Lascelles, um,
Mhm.
or Shearer, and so you'd have Dan Burns and Botman as maybe your back line, and that does improve
Yeah, pretty good.
you quite a bit, and
Mhm.
it looks like they're rumored to Ugo Edikite. I think I said his name right. Of
Yeah,
Reims, who is a this guy has a lot of hype and for being as young as he is. Maybe get it, but it's one of those. There are a lot of like youngish under 20, 21, 22 year olds in the French league that are getting like 10
yeah.
goals a season, and you don't
Mhm.
necessarily know if they were like the next Mbappe or if they're just someone that's going to get 10 goals in the French league. But
Yeah, he
he's
had 11 goals and 4 assists. So yeah, I'm with you. Like good numbers, but does that translate in the Premier League? It's hit or miss. Yeah, we don't know.
he
But
looks
I guess the
he's
price would
wiry.
be
He's like thin. I think
mm,
he's like 6'2" or 6'3". He's quite tall.
it's, it's
But
speedy. I
but
think.
yeah, he apparently he's good at making runs in behind. And frankly, it would maybe be good too because you figure Newcastle needs someone behind Wilson. Um,
Mm.
we saw he's had his injury issues for the last 2 seasons now. And frankly, when he's healthy, I think Wilson could be top five in Golden Boot if he would able to go the full season. He's got a lot of
Yeah,
talent.
he scores a lot when healthy. So
Yep.
yeah, it's a good shout.
And this would be interesting for them being rumored to Musa Diaby of Leverkusen because we saw Diaby actually start for France in a couple of these Nations League games. And he's quite explosive. Now, he doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
have the best
Oh yeah.
touch on him, and frankly, he's got a little Mane in him. In the box, he's very hit and miss. But when
Mhm.
he's a hit, he looks very good.
Him,
So
him, and Saint Maximin, they're very similar in style, I would say.
yes,
But
yes, that's a good way to
I
put it.
mean, but it would be very watchable for Newcastle. If you're a Newcastle fan, you got those guys. I mean, I would watch that all day. It'd be very exciting. And then
He would be an
those
improvement
two guys.
over Almiron too,
Yeah.
who
Oh
probably
yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. And then those two guys serving balls into Wilson up top. Wilson, if he's healthy, could like you said, just could smash in the goals and be up there for the Golden Boot.
Yep. And so, all right, and then let's move on to the Spurs. And maybe we should have done Spurs a little earlier because they've done a lot of business early and it's starting to look really scary. As far as official, they've got even Perisic from Inter. Uh, who, frankly, this works
Three, yeah.
because it can be wingback depth. He played wingback, I think, at Inter. So he's not just a wide forward anymore.
Damn.
He's also getting up there in age, so maybe playing wingback
Yes.
maybe suits him better.
He had
Um,
10 goals, 9 assists playing wingback too,
mhm.
or playing wingback and midfield. So and he's free. So that I think
Right.
that is a good pickup
Yep.
for depth, at least, especially.
Because they were playing Spurs were either it doesn't seem Conte rates Regulon, and he was playing
Yeah.
that young Fulham guy that I forget his name. Uh, it'll come to me later. In a few of those, and frankly, that Fulham guy ended up
Yes, Sesnion? Was it
Sessegnon.
him?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Good job, good job.
Sesnion.
Yeah, he was the one responsible for the goal for Liverpool when they when Spurs tied that or won that game. No, tied that game. Um,
Mhm.
it looks like they brought in Yves Bissouma of Brighton, and for
Mhm.
35 million. Now, one thing we should say is this guy was wanted by Real Madrid and probably would have gone for 80 million just a year ago, but he's got some
Mhm.
legal case pending against him. Um,
Yeah.
and so no one really knows how that's going to work out. If maybe Basuma's agents have assured Spurs that nothing further will come from that. This is when I said about Kamara, erase that. This is the get of the transfer season by far. I think
Ooh.
of Europe. Um,
Ooh.
this guy is very very good. Um, and the only issue would maybe be where he would necessarily play, uh, because I don't necessarily think he would work in Conte's two with Hoiberg and Betancourt. So you'd
Mm.
maybe switch to three, but then I don't necessarily know how they do with wingbacks. But Basuma just for depth or just in general as kind of a workhorse or a defender. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy is a pressing machine. He
Yeah. He is.
he gets turnovers, and he doesn't have the best pass on him, but he's very good against pressure. I mean,
Yeah.
he improves in midfield.
He's it's going to be yeah. He's a beast in the midfield, and it's going to really let your forward three players, Son, Kane, and Kulusevski, really go up and attack and
Spurs are going to win the
not
ball upfield
necessarily
a
worry.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
Spurs are going to win the
and
ball
then
upfield, and they'll be able to start attacks higher up the
mhm.
pitch a lot
and
more than what they've been doing.
they're not going to have to worry about when they lose the ball. Well,
Yes,
we got Basuma back there in the middle, so we don't have to necessarily worry. We can kind of attack and not worry about coming back defensively, or at least he can Basuma can delay it a little bit until you get back. So yeah, it's going to be big signing.
and it looks official now that they've also added Richarlison. And one thing we were talking about, I think for 60
Damn,
million, one thing we were talking about is
damn,
this is maybe a statement from Spurs because you're paying 60 million for someone who will probably be a bench player. Um, and so that's not something
yeah,
something we've seen in the past from Daniel Levy.
true,
But another thing that this says is one, it's a statement. But two, they maybe recognize that with the way that the World Cup is in this November, and the way that the schedule is so congested, you're going to need depth to survive this
yeah.
season. And
And Champions
they're
League, they're
also in
back in the
Champions
Champions
League,
League.
right?
So.
So
Mhm.
this makes sense to me. So it's interesting to actually see Spurs doing stuff that makes sense. And so maybe that's what you get when you get Conte. You got those assurances, and Conte is cashing his due. So, and it
Yeah,
looks
yeah, true.
as far as players that are out, it looks Cameron Carter Vickers is officially a Celtic player. So
Yeah, he did well on loan last year for them, so not a surprise. He wasn't going to play at Tottenham either,
mhm.
really.
I remember when Brentford played, I think Bournemouth in a playoff. I was like on Twitter, and Bournemouth players were actually saying Vickers was maybe their best player that season. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I think he's a good player.
it's interesting to see. He actually got a couple looks this past U.S. Nations League, but still
Mhm.
think he's on the outside looking in. Um,
Yeah, just not good enough for the Premier League. Still a good player, but not good enough to play a lot in the Premier League,
mhm.
especially for a top four team.
And let's move on to West Ham and Rex. How are we doing on time? 'Cause I don't want to be
Uh,
don't want to be like a 2 hour episode.
yeah, we might have to just do.
We could split it if you want to do that.
Yeah, we can do that. That sounds good.
All right, we'll get to West Ham and then kind of make the do a second follow up for everyone else.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good to me.
And we'll get Jeremy to talk about Brentford a little bit. Maybe he can either celebrate or
Yeah,
cry about the Ericsson news when that
yeah, because
happens.
we'll know. We should know. Well, I don't know. I feel like that decision's coming soon, but
I feel like
it's felt like
I feel like Ericsson
it's been
would
like two
want
weeks.
Ericsson would want to be at his club and do a preseason. I don't imagine he would want to
Yeah.
stick this out.
Mhm. I don't think he wants his family to move either. So I think Brentford's in the driver's seat because I've heard that he doesn't want his family to move, his kids to move, schools and stuff like that. He's already kind of settled at Brentford in London, so hopefully, that kind of puts Brentford in the driver's seat for him. We'll see. But yeah, I'm nervous about that one too because we need him. Brentford need him badly.
And so let's we'll end with West Ham, and you've got for. And actually, do you want to? I guess say what they've done. I don't actually. I can't say
Yeah,
anything.
I actually think West Ham has had a pretty good window so far,
Mm-hmm.
especially because it's been kind of early. Let me see what they got here. Okay, so they got. It looks like they're going to get Danjuma from Villarreal, which would be huge. His release clause is 45 million, so not terrible.
That changes my opinion on Pulisic being able to get there.
Yeah, yeah. He had 16 goals and 4 assists
Danjuma's
last
good.
year
Yeah.
in all comps.
He
Yeah.
did it. He did
Six
it.
in the
He impressed in the
six
Champions
in the
League.
Champions League. Yeah. So he'd be fantastic. They also went out and got Naif Aguerd, 38 million from Rennes. This guy was a beast too. He played in 40 games as a center back, 4 goals, 3 assists. So he's a little bit of an attacking player
That's good.
from set pieces too.
Yeah.
So really good signing there. And then if they could get Lingard for free, that would just kind of top everything off because we know they wanted Lingard. We saw how they played when they had Lingard on loan. They were fantastic. Lingard was fantastic. That would be a huge signing for them too, not costing anything. And then they also got Areola, the goalkeeper from Fulham, PSG, Real Madrid. He's coming in to be the backup officially. So pretty good little window for West Ham, and it's still early.
Because he was on loan last season for them.
Yeah,
So.
he was on loan. So I mean, if West Ham could get Danjuma, and Lingard, I don't think they really have to do anything else
No.
this offseason. I mean,
Especially-
they could for depth, but
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know who this player was, but you're this Naif guy. But what they really needed to do was kind of shore up the back end because they lost Albana for like the entire season to I think an ACL, and after that you had Zuma that had the injury issues and the cat issue, but behind that you really saw shouldn't
okay.
we shouldn't laugh, but that was ridiculous.
If people don't know, yeah, they're like, what? Cat issue? What he did? He
But
kicked the cat, yeah.
but I lost my train of thought. Oh, I just you saw a significant lack of quality in their second and third guys for center backs, and I think they suffered from that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they had like Dawson, older, aging Dawson from
yeah,
Tottenham.
was poor.
He actually played he played decent at times for when he did play better than expected, I guess I would say. But yeah, probably not good enough. Also, it looks like Fredericks, a backup fullback, he left for free, but I think he was kind of deemed surplus to the requirements there. But now it looks like Ben Rama might leave. I guess just too inconsistent.
I wonder if he could go back
For
to Brentford.
Moyes, that would be fantastic. But he is a good player. I mean, he is kind of flashy, so he does have those games where he doesn't do much. But he also has those games where he's the only one that's actually playing well, and he kind of gets you the one goal that you need.
I mean, you
He's
look.
mercurial that way.
Yeah, I mean, you look, and it is only him. I mean, Rice and Suchek are kind of like I don't want to say controllers, but destroyers maybe. Like they can, they can win possession back for you, but they're not necessarily going to. Rice actually improved his dribbling dramatically last season, as far as progressing the ball, but it's still not necessarily enough. You need someone to thread those passes to a Bowen and Antonio making those runs, and so
Mhm.
when you
Jacob
don't
Ramsey.
when it's only just you, that can be pretty harsh, and maybe it's hard to kind of get settled into because he made a pretty big move when he went from Brentford to West Ham.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, because they were in the championship at the time. So
I'd be interested. I don't necessarily know what Brentford's finances are, but I'd take a shot on him. Bring him back. I
yeah,
think that'd be a good marriage or reunion.
it's funny. Just real quick, it's funny you say that because Brentford has bid 20 million, which is a decent amount, 17 to 20 million for let me look through my notes here. 16 million to 20 million for Hull's Keane Lewis Potter.
Oh,
He had 12 goals last year, so that might, if they got him, that might rule out Ben Rama returning.
Mhm.
But I think Ben Rama would probably cost around the same amount, maybe a little bit more. maybe like 35, depending on how much West Ham want. So, we'll see. That's interesting tease for next time
Mhm.
with Brentford. But because we'll know, I guess we'll know if that bid is successful. We'll know in a week or whatever too. So, we still have a lot of dominoes that could fall and just make all the other dominoes fall too. We got a lot of transfers. It might happen depending on other transfers. You mentioned Cucurella might leave. Brighton might get like Tagliafico maybe from Ajax to fill that spot. So we got a lot of
Wow.
situations like that
That
too.
would be amazing if that happens. That guy used to be linked to City for like 2 or 3 seasons in a row.
Yeah, but it's interesting that Brighton would like lose a really good left back, but also be able to replace him with another really good left back because it's Brighton, but Brighton had a good year last year too. So these smaller clubs are linked to some good players that could really affect how their season goes. And a lot of them also haven't made moves yet. We'll also talk about Nottingham Forest got Tewo Awoniyi
Hmm.
from
Yeah,
Union Berlin. He scored like 20 goals
former
last
Liverpool
year, so we'll
player.
talk about him. Smashed the transfer record for them, 17 million. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We still got a lot of interesting potential transfers coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Like I don't even think we're halfway. Or maybe we are halfway. I don't actually know. But
Yeah,
what's crazy is
close to halfway.
the Community Shield is only a month away. Um,
Mhm.
so I think it's
Yeah,
the
that's
the, the 30th of July,
crazy. I guess
and then
because of
the
the
season starts
World
next
Cup,
week.
everything's moved up. So it's like the beginning of August instead of like halfway through August. So yeah, I just feel bad for the players. I feel like they didn't really get that big of a break,
No,
but I
especially
guess
with like
after
Nations League, like
Nations
literally
League,
following
yeah,
right after that.
they have like a month off. I like because everyone comes back. I think
And then
beginning of July,
there's another
basically
international
everyone's
break
back.
in September. So
Yeah, I just worry about the players with all this going
yeah,
on. So depth is going to be key. Hopefully, we want to see the best players playing. I don't, my fear is that you're going to have these guys, these good players coming back after the World Cup, and they're either not going to play that much because they're leggy, or they're going to get hurt because they're leggy. So
definitely.
we'll see. It's going to be weird. It's a first time thing having the World Cup in the winter in the middle of domestic seasons. It's going to be really weird and interesting at the same time.
All right, and I guess we'll end it there. We still have a few teams to hit, and maybe we can do some updates next episode as well. One thing I do want to say is, at least in the U.S., coming up is the Women's Euros, and
Yeah.
one thing that's really cool is it's going to be, I think, entirely on the ESPN platform. So
Mhm.
mostly on Plus, but I think maybe like one of their second channels will have some games. But this is great for the women's game to kind of grow it. We've talked a little bit about we feel like it's grown a little bit over the last couple of seasons, not just in America.
Mhm.
Rex, you've even mentioned how Barca women's team filled the Camp Nou of like 190 plus thousand in
Oh
one of
yeah.
their games, and so
Oh yeah, yeah.
that'll
It's
be.
there are a lot of good European teams coming up now too. Like England's really good now. Holland's really good. Netherlands.
I think
So
Holland is the defending, and I think the two favorites are England and France. For
France is
what I've
good.
seen.
Yeah, yeah. Spain and Germany aren't bad either. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm definitely gonna watch.
It's kind of interesting how Norway have Holland for the men's side, and they maybe have a female Holland in Hedenberger. Um,
Oh yeah.
and they I don't necessarily know what their odds are, but it'll be interesting to see how she does. She was basically just former Ballon d'Or winner and just won the Champions League for Lyon. So
She was hurt for a while before that
yeah.
too. So she's
Mhm.
kind of on the injury comeback trail. So yeah, she could be a really good breakout. This could be a breakout, cup for her possibly. We see that all the time, like World Cup. Like James Rodriguez came out of the World Cup. This could be another kind of player she's on people's radars. She won the d'Or, but she could be like more of a household name after this if she does well.
And it's a really good tournament because I think the Women's World Cup is next season, so it'll be good to see who the U.S. will
Yeah,
like. I guess what the competition will be. So I'll be
yeah,
tuning in
true.
as much as I can, just because in July
Yeah,
there
me
is
too.
nothing. I'm not the biggest fan of
No,
baseball.
no, me neither. It's baseball and that's it.
Yep. All right, and I guess that's it. So Rex, thanks for joining. We were
Yeah, it was fun.
able to stomach through it a little bit. You did fantastic research. I would not have been able to do this without you. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
it was fun to do the research, but it's it's like you're hitting a moving target. Everything like I kind of did a brief outline in like the beginning of June, and I was just looking through those notes, and it was like half of those people aren't going to where people thought they were going to go, and you just feel stupid because everything's always changing. So yeah, when we do the show again, we might have some mistakes to correct, maybe, or maybe we'll look smart, and some of the things we said that would happen will happen. So we'll see. Time will tell.
All right, and I guess that's it. So do you want to throw us out?
All right. So this is I guess, part one of the Reserve Squad transfer special on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, check us out too. On well, I guess we're everywhere. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Play, but especially check us out on Twitch. AP Shinsky, check us out there. You can see all our past episodes and see our beautiful faces, I would say. So for Ben and I, and for Alex and Jeremy, who might be joining us, you stay squatty. It's weird without the music.
Yeah, I know. All right, and stop.